Hey everybody, happy Wednesday. I'll give folks a chance if they want to hop on and listen to some sports talk, maybe ask some questions in the comments. Give you a second to join the show while I have a sip of my 75-ounce Coke because I don't drink coffee and I am dragging and need some caffeine because I work late nights, obviously Tuesday nights, and then I work a day shift Wednesday and I just drag. So here's to you. Excuse me for a second. Oh, needed that. All right. Happy Wednesday, if that is such a thing. In the digital studio every Wednesday, I wish I had a set time, but it'll depend if I have a morning shoot or an afternoon shoot. For instance, this morning I went out to see the WWMT hockey team. They've got a huge series this weekend against the Omaha Mavericks, who are just about as hot as Western. They might be the two hottest teams in all of college hockey. In fact, I think Western's 9-1-0 in their last 10. Omaha 8-1-1, playing some great hockey. So obviously a big series on tap this weekend at Lawson Arena. We'll talk more about that in the shows this week. But we're going to begin talking about what else. Super Bowl LIX 59, if you don't speak Roman numeral, an absolute thrashing of the Kansas City Chiefs by the Philadelphia Eagles, which pains me to say because I grew up in upstate New York, actually rooting for a very different team with a star on their helmet. You can hold your comments. But I was a kid. Super Bowl 12 was the first Super Bowl I remember. I decided that day I was a Dallas Cowboy fan. I was 8 years old, a few months away from turning 9. And so that's been my team ever since. So obviously don't love the Birds. And I went to college in Pennsylvania, which made it worse. But I like the players in the organization. I used to hate the Buddy Ryan Eagles, but really happy for them. Saquon's a great dude. But at any rate, Kansas City was going for a historic three-peat. Check in the comments. Hello, Jeanette from Coldwater. You are faithful, always joining us. I really appreciate it. Kansas City was going for the first three-peat in Super Bowl history. Last time it had been done was by the Green Bay Packers, 65, 66, 67. The first 2 years were NFL championships, and I think, or maybe the first year was NFL championship, and then Super Bowl 1 and 2. So 3 straight championships, but not Super Bowl championships. So that is gone. Just an absolute thrashing, start to finish game, never in doubt. Eagles props, golf clap. Just a dominant performance. They did it with a pass rush. I started thinking at the end of the week which way I was going to bet. Not a lot of money. I don't have disposable income, but I do enjoy betting on Super Bowl Sunday. I'll talk more about that in a bit. And I was thinking about the Eagles pass rush. And the teams that get to the Super Bowl on the backs of a dominant pass rush usually just do really well. And I think about Tom Brady was 7-3 in his 10 Super Bowls, 2 of them against the Giants. Just, you want to make a star quarterback look mortal, rush the passer, don't give him any time to throw. Absolutely harassed. I don't think the Patriots broke 20 points in either of those Super Bowl losses to the Giants. Just sacked a number of times, harassed all night. Same with Patty Mahomes a few years ago. The Bucs teed off on him. He didn't have any time to throw whatsoever and absolutely romped. So I started thinking that that's where I would wager and take the Birds in the plus 1.5. I was correct there, correct in the over. We'll talk about my degenerate gambling habits in a little bit. But Saquon obviously totally held in check, which makes it more impressive. I think he had 57 yards rushing, and they put up 40 points. So just an incredible performance. Jalen Hurts, great story, really. I mean, he gets pulled at halftime of an NCAA championship game at Alabama. They put in some freshman left-hander by the name of Tua. And everyone had to learn how to say Tagovailoa, and I'm still not sure if I'm saying it right. But he struggled a lot of the year. He didn't throw I think he only threw for 300 yards once. Passing game just really did not click all season long, but he comes in, he's Super Bowl MVP. He's now one of just 2 quarterbacks whose teams have scored 35 or more points in 2 Super Bowls. I would have thought that number would have been a lot higher, but it's just Jalen Hurts who's done it in both of his appearances. They lost 38-35 a couple of years ago to the Chiefs, and some guy named Joe Montana who did it in 2 of his 4 Super Bowls, including that incredible 55 points the Niners put up over the Denver Broncos way back in the day, 1988 or 89, I believe. Hurts also one of just 4 starting quarterbacks to win both a national championship and a Super Bowl. A little bit of an asterisk. Obviously, what I said, he got yanked from that game, but technically he was the starter, played a half. Joe Montana, Joe Namath, Ken Stabler, the other 3 quarterbacks to accomplish that great feat. Devontae Smith, now just the 5th player to win a Super Bowl, a national championship, and the Heisman Trophy, joining Charles Woodson. Hail. Tony Dorsett, Reggie Bush, and Marcus Allen. Marcus Allen, I believe, the only player to win NFL MVP, Super Bowl MVP, the Super Bowl, the national championship, and a Heisman Trophy. So a little trivia there for you for what it's worth. I did do some prop bets. I didn't do anything like the coin toss. The color of the Gatorade, I don't remember what color it was. Or I was tempted to take the over on the national anthem, and it was an easy over. I should have taken that, but something about that, I don't know. I'm going to spend what little money I have elsewhere. So I loaded $100 into my FanDuel account, did a bunch of $10. I think I did one $15 bet, maybe a 5 bets. And basically what I concentrated on, some long shot props or touchdown scores. For instance, DeAndre Hopkins scored a touchdown. I think I won $50 or $60 on my $10 wager. And phone call, rookie mistake, leaving the ringer on there. I did, so I hit on DeAndre Hopkins, won $60. I really was excited about betting on Justin Watson or Noah Gray, the Chiefs tight end. They love the tight end when they're down inside the 10-yard line. Obviously, it's been a tough year for Kelsey, but I wanted a guy who could pay off big, and I think Justin Watson caught a 2-point conversion. But anyways, it didn't happen. I did get an Eagles defensive touchdown. I bet on that. So I won $142, but I put in 100. So yay, I can pay for the kids' college because I netted a whopping $42. I didn't hit on any of my Super Bowl squares. I know this is riveting content, but I had a 3 and a 6 or a 4 and a 6. I can't remember if it was Chiefs or Eagles, which one was which, but obviously great numbers to have. $50 board, some big money available. Didn't win. Was disappointed about that. Love the Super Bowl squares. I'm addicted to them and playing those for God knows 30-something plus years. The Super Bowl halftime show, your definition of polarizing, obviously, if you have Facebook or you just talk to people around the proverbial water cooler. I don't know if anyone does that anymore now with social media, but I don't know. I didn't know any of his songs. I knew he was hugely respected. I knew he had won a ton of Grammys. I just didn't know any of his songs. And I remember when he was announced, I was like, I don't know. And apparently, you know, when I read some articles and some friends who were in the know, so to speak, some incredible symbolism with his song choices, his choreography. So artistically, you know, thumbs up. But there was a large portion of America that just said they couldn't understand him, didn't know his songs, weren't happy. But I think that's going to happen. It's very hard to there's very few artists you can throw out there, you know, that mammoth and make everyone happy. I thought Justin Timberlake about 5 or 6 years ago was fantastic. Absolutely loved the show. And much to my surprise, he was getting hammered on Twitter. So whatever, but I'm old. I'd like to see Phil Collins. I'd like to see Phil Collins play the Super Bowl halftime show, or Elton and Billy John. One of my great regrets, I haven't been to many concerts in my life, but they had that Piano Men tour for a number of years in the, was it the 90s? I'm not sure. I had a buddy who went to one of the shows, and they played each other's music, and then they teamed up for a bunch of other songs. Sounds fantastic. Really jealous. By the way, I did get to see Elton when he came here in 2012. I still can't get over the fact that he came to Kalamazoo and played in what's now called the Wings Event Center. Surreal. Anyways, it was the highest rated Super Bowl ever. A bit of an asterisk there. The folks at the Nielsen ratings, they changed the way they measure that. It used to be top 48 TV markets. Now it's pretty much all the markets minus Hawaii and Alaska, but they include streaming now. So was it the highest rate? I don't know. By the new ratings, it was, for whatever that's worth. I think an average of 127.7 million. So new record there. Kendrick Lamar's halftime show is now officially the most watched halftime show ever, beating Michael Jackson. That record standing for quite a long time. I still remember that show. How could you not? I do remember as well, Madonna. I got to go to Super Bowl 46. The only way I could afford to go to a Super Bowl is get a media pass. And since it was Indy 3.5 hours away, I was able to get myself credentialed and go. Madonna played that show. Thought that was great. So look, Super Bowl 59 now in the books. We're going to turn our attention shortly because the NFL never rests. It's just people are such huge NFL fans now that it's just a full season enterprise. Super Bowl LX. It's the only reason I know Roman numerals because of football. Held in Santa Clara, the home of the San Francisco 49ers, up north of San Francisco, or I don't know which direction it is. It's not in San Francisco. It's like 30 or 40 miles outside it. I like anniversary Super Bowls. I still remember, was it 40 or 50? I know 40 was in Detroit, but was it where they brought back all the, and still I think pretty much all of them were living at that point. Maybe not Bart Starr, but the MVPs brought him out for an introduction and everything. I just thought that was great. So it's the 60th. I wonder if they'll do the same. Still, most of them, I believe, the vast majority of the past Super Bowl MVPs still with us, still alive. The Lions, by the way, I looked this up. Do with this what you will. 5th best odds to win Super Bowl 60, behind the Eagles, the favorite, and then the Chiefs, Bills, and Ravens, all tied for second, plus 700, I believe it was. So, we head into the offseason. Lions, lots of questions. They've obviously replaced their offensive and defensive coordinators. We talked about that last week. Ron Hibbs, Three Rivers in the house. How you doing, bud? Gavin Nixon just said, yup. How you doing, Gavin? Glad for joining us. Thank you so much. Let me know if you guys have any questions or anything. Stay warm. The snow's probably coming. I don't have any windows down in my sports office, so I have no idea. Sometimes I'll go out for dinner and I'll be like, where'd the 4 inches of snow come? But I know the snow's coming, so stay warm and safe and dry. So the Lions heading to the offseason, and a lot of questions. So I'm going to bring up the pass rush. Obviously, they didn't have Aiden Hutchinson. We're going to hope and assume full recovery for him. He was having a monster year, 7.5 sacks in 4.5 games. He was your early favorite for Defensive Player of the Year, obviously before that horrible injury down in Arlington. But I bring all that up because a lot of chatter. The Browns defensive end, Myles Garrett, who's an absolute monster, a former NFL Defensive Player of the Year, still 29 years old, still coming off a monster season. Tired of the Browns, tired of losing, wants to be traded. They've said no, but it's going to happen. He's gone on a number of different media outlets, along with social media, to say that he wants to be traded, and it's just going to happen. Browns need to do a rebuild, and I'd be fairly surprised unless they do a sit down and come up with a plan and hey, this quarterback's coming in, or they get a bridge quarterback and they sell him on the future, because they actually do have a pretty good defense. But I'll be surprised. I think he's going to go elsewhere. I think he's fed up after 6-7 years there. What's interesting is there could be some marquee pass rushers on the trade market. The Cowboys supposedly have had internal discussions. I heard just yesterday, I think, about trading Micah Parsons, which was just nuts. He's a top 2 or 3 defensive end in the entire NFL. Max Crosby of the Raiders, we don't know for sure. No one said anything, but there's talk that Max Crosby could be fed up out there, as well as obviously they need to rebuild and they don't have an apparent quarterback in the future either. So many folks would love for him to come back to Michigan. Obviously played at Eastern, and the big question though in all of them is what is the cost? What's the capital? What's it going to take? NFL's a copycat league. When you see something happen, you'll see teams copy it. And there's probably going to be an emphasis. People are going to look at the Eagles, who obviously, Saquon rushed for 2,000 yards. They've got a couple of really good wide receivers and a very talented quarterback. But defense won them that game. And I was looking, they built their line through the draft. Of those 5 defensive linemen, 4 were drafted in the first round, 1 in the 4th round. So they put the capital into it, and then obviously it paid off. So something the Lions are going to have to consider. This is considered, I've read in numerous spots because I'm a draft geek, a very deep draft for pass rushers and defensive linemen. So we'll see. I'm not a breakdown tape guy, but I will leave it to the experts to let me know. But so will the Lions do it? Will Brad Holmes pull the trigger? I don't know. Could he decide, hey, the window's now and let's do this. Let's pair them. Let's pair these 2 monsters and Myles Garrett and Aiden Hutchinson. Let's get after the quarterback. We're going to get healthy on defense. We're bringing back all the pieces on offense. Let's get this thing. Let's do it now. I can't get inside his mind, but he seems to be more of a cautious guy who, when I read his postseason pressers, that he's like, we got a process and we're going to stick to it. When you're as talented as he is as a general manager in assessing talent and managing the draft, then you think you can go out and get the pieces you need without giving up a fortune to get one player. And it's not so much the draft capital that's the problem. It's the salary cap. It's great that the Lions so much young talent. We'll go through the names in a minute, but you got to pay them. Now, right now, the Lions are in good shape cap-wise. I do want to mention, obviously, they brought in Zadarius Smith from the Browns to take the place of Aiden Hutchinson. Did real well, 4 sacks, 8 games, consistently pressuring the quarterback. His contract's not bad for this upcoming season. I think $5.7 million. But if they didn't want to keep him for the following, I guess there's some escalators, as it's called, some money pushed into there. And if they didn't want him, there'd be like a big dead cap hit. So it's not maybe guaranteed that he's even on the roster coming into this season. Maybe they restructure. Maybe they change that contract. I don't know. Lions are roughly 9th in the NFL in cap space available heading into the 2025 season, which is great. Roughly $44 million. But that's going to change dramatically in the projections already for 2026 because of all those extensions that they handed out. Big money to Jared Goff, big money to Penei Sewell, big money to Amon-Ra St. Brown, making all 3 of those the highest paid or the second highest paid player at their respective positions. They still need to extend and will at some point Aiden Hutchinson. A couple of years till I have to worry about Jahmyr Gibbs, paying him an extension. Same with Brian Branch. Kirby Joseph, all-pro safety. They got a couple of them now. I wonder if they're going to be able to keep both. Going to have to make a decision on one or the other. You got Sam Laporta in a couple of years. James Williams, I believe, going to the 4th year. They decide if they want to extend him now. He had his first 1,000-yard season. So there's a lot of money to be paid out. And Brad Holmes really cognizant of that fact. So it's not just bringing in, say, Myles Garrett or Crosby or Micah Parsons. I don't believe that's going to happen. You give up a big haul of draft picks, but to pay Myles Garrett and to add that to the cap situation, that makes me think that this probably wouldn't happen. Although I'd love to see it. Would absolutely love to see it. Lions will have the 28th pick in April's NFL draft. They've got 7 draft picks now. They had 6, but there's I didn't know about this till recently. When Aaron Glenn signed with the Jets, there is part of the Art Rooney minority hiring rule. They get 2 draft picks, 3rd rounder this year. I don't know if it's a 3rd rounder in 26 as well, but so they do have 7 draft picks, which is great because once again, Brad Holmes knows what to do with them. Guy's incredible talent evaluator. He's really handled the draft well. Traded down to get Jahmyr Gibbs a couple of years ago. They were high-fiving in the war room, and you all see it. Everyone across the country is panning them for the pick. They knew what they were doing. They knew what they were getting, and clearly just perfect pick. Led the NFL in touchdowns this season. Dual threat, rusher, receiver, didn't miss a beat when David Montgomery went down. I love the Sonic and Knuckles, by the way. So we'll see. We're going to be heading into the combine shortly. And again, the NFL just doesn't have an offseason. It dominates through the April draft. Things get quiet for a little while, but you still have mini camps, maybe a slight lull in the summer, and then guess what? They're back at camp starting in mid to late July. So that's the NFL these days. Some quick hitters for you, some stuff I just threw down to talk about. Tom Izzo had a chance last night to pass the general Bobby Knight to become the Big Ten leader in wins. That's conference victories all time, tied with Knight with 353 Big Ten wins. Ironically, his first Big Ten win, I saw some great pictures on the internet last night. God, Izzo so young, and Bob Knight talked to him before the game. Came against Indiana in January of 1996. And then, wouldn't you know, coincidentally, has a chance to break the record last night against the very same Indiana Hoosiers who have been struggling this year. I think they ended the night 5-8 in conference play. Head coach not coming back next year, but struggled against the zone and lost by 6 last night, something like that. So he'll have to try to break that record on Saturday at Illinois. Big win for Michigan. They upset 7th-ranked Purdue at home. Love Dusty May. I mean, if you can do it at Florida Atlantic, you can do it. And he's come in and he threw this roster together late, only kept a few players from last year's team, brought in these transplants, and just has thrown this thing together. He's fantastic. I mean, Michigan celebrating a football national championship last year. It would not shock me at all. Dusty May gets the job done and wins a national championship himself. He's just a very impressive guy. See, I got my notes. I'm a nerd. I look stuff up, talking points and all that. Spring training started today. Snuck up on me a bit. I actually thought it was in a couple days, but at any rate, starting everywhere, but down in Lakeland, pitchers and catchers reporting. Tigers, we're not going to jump into this too deeply. We're already 22 minutes in this. But starting next week, obviously, as we head towards opening day in late March, which still seems weird to me to say, late March instead of April. But Tigers 31-13 in their final 44 games, which was obscene. They were 1 win away from the ALCS. Some great news. They got real fortunate. They got Jack Flaherty on a real kind of team-friendly deal. It's a 2-year deal, but he could opt out again after the 25 season, which means kind of makes me laugh because obviously they traded him in July in his first season to the Dodgers. Somehow they underperform, poor season, injury. It could happen. They could trade Jack Flaherty again if he has another strong season for hopefully some blue chip prospects. We hope that's not the case, but right now slots in nicely behind your Cy Young winner, Tarek Skubal, as your second starter, and real strong Detroit rotation that doesn't include some talented people right now. Theoretically, your projected starting rotation doesn't include Matt Manning and Casey Mize. I'm not giving up on Casey Mize. That was his first year after a major arm surgery. So future looks bright, but they got to add some bats. That no one really scares you in that lineup. I know Riley Green's an all-star. I really like Kerry Carpenter. He scares me a little bit, or he would if I could pitch. But just the bats aren't there. You got a lot of arms, and they don't really have any significant guys coming up through the pipeline. It's like, oh, we're going to plug this guy in a year or two. And then again, you never even know. Look no further than Spencer Torkelson. Maybe he'll turn it around young in his career, but right now, obviously, trending towards a bust after being the number 1 overall pick a few years ago. Alex Bregman still out there, the Astros all-star third baseman, Gold Glover. Astros apparently are out on him. They've been, their GM, president, whoever it was, started to talk about him in the past tense, so they don't believe that's going to happen. Obviously, he has the A.J. Hinch connection. I think it would be great, established bat, although his numbers aren't really inflated, but Minute Maid Park in some ways is it's a lot better to hit Minute Maid Park than it is Comerica Park, even though they brought the fences in a little bit a couple years ago. Bregman would slot in nicely, and I don't know. So supposedly the Red Sox in, supposedly the Tigers still in, supposedly the Cubs made him a creative offer. He's got to be getting antsy, but he's a Scott Boras client, and who knows how this is going to play out or how long it's going to go. I think the last thing I tossed down in my notes, well, I got a couple things. Pistons, by the way, beat the living heck out of the Chicago Bulls last night. And I had a couple college games going. I wasn't really paying attention to the Pistons. And then I glanced at the score, and I'm like, they were up 42 at the half. Turns out it was the highest margin at the half in franchise history. That's saying something. Pretty good franchise. So up 42, cruised to I think it was a 40-point win. Same two teams going at it, I believe, again tonight in Chicago. Red Wings, they're on their 2-week break. There's no All-Star game this year. They're doing the Four Nations face-off, which seems fantastic, and a lot of folks excited. It's comprised of players from the USA, Canada, Finland, and Sweden. I think Team USA plays tomorrow night. Games this week in Montreal, and I think next week in Boston at TD Garden, the home of the Bruins. So I'm looking forward to that, actually. And what else? Selfish. Polar plunge. I guess it's not selfish. I'm doing the polar plunge again. I jumped in 2009. I had someone who was affiliated with it say, hey, the Kalamazoo polar plunge is the lowest earning plunge in the whole state, or at least it was 15 odd years ago, 16 years ago. And they said, hey, can you get involved and jump? And I did. And I didn't in 2010 for whatever reason, but I returned in 11. I've jumped every year since. Some years I've jumped twice because we used to do some morning show lives where they would want to promote it. They need someone to come out and jump Friday morning, and I would come in pitch black darkness and ice and jump in. So I've been doing it. I'm committed to it. I really believe in it. I played 3 sports in high school. I played a little bit of D2 college baseball for a couple of years. Before that, concentrating on my all-important intramural college career. I was that guy who played all the sports and organized everything for my fraternity and the competition junkie. But I love sports. And the point is, most of you have played at some point, loved as well. We all have different levels of talent, or our children play. And you know how important sports and competition is. So I really believe in Michigan Special Olympics and what they do. It's a wonderful organization and just helping these athletes compete. So it means a lot to me. I've been jumping again since 2009. I've raised over $48,000. The early years, I raised like 1,100, 1,200, 13. The last 4 or 5 has been closer to, a bad year was 43, 4,400. Some years up to 5,500. But I've been in that ballpark. Again, I want to raise 100,000. Arbitrary goal. Probably need at least 10 more years to do it. And my age means I might be dead before I do it, but I think I can pull it off. So I waited too long to start raising money. It is February 22nd. Once again, at Shakespeare's. And if you're interested, I've put links on my personal Facebook page and my WWMT Facebook page. Great charity and well worth it. That's all I got for today. If you want to talk sports at any point, A Pepper, WWMT, Andy Pepper's WWMT, Andy Pepper, Facebook, personal Facebook, Andy Pepper, Twitter, A Pepper, WWMT. That's what I was getting at. Or email, apepper@sbgtv.com, samboygirltv.com. Got a question, want to know why we covered something, didn't cover something, want us to cover something, just reach out. Glad to let you know if we can or why we didn't do it, or just answer any sports question you got. So thanks for joining us. We'll see you again next Wednesday. They built me a custom background, but it's not in the system yet. So instead of the generic News 3 behind me in the studio, although the weather guys have some neat options to change the background. Apparently they made me a rotating stadium background, different stadiums. So I'm eager to see that. So yeah. Anyways, thanks for sitting through 29 minutes of my drivel. I hope you had have a great Wednesday, everybody. Bye. Oh, wait, I got one more. Kyle Remmer. Where were you, Kyle? I could have used this when I was talking about Lions. Rumors out there about Kupp being traded to Detroit with the Brad Holmes and Jared Goff connection. Actually, that would make a lot of sense. But he's got a huge salary. He's owed a ton of money. He's a player clearly in decline, though. think he's 31, maybe going to be 32, and really tailed off in the second half of the season. No one knows that more than me because cost me a fantasy bowl championship. He tailed off so bad. Yeah, it depends. If they cut him, then that's a whole different ballgame. I could really definitely see that happening. And you're right about Tim Patrick, who was really good in Denver before his knee injuries. I think he had a couple different knee injuries. I know they were really excited about him. Again, I'm a fantasy junkie, so I keep track of a lot of different players. So I could definitely see that happening. Obviously, they have the pieces offensively, man. They can run the ball, and we got Kupp and Amon-Ra and J-Mo. But yeah, that could happen, but probably only if he gets cut. Anyways, Kyle, thanks for chiming in. Next Wednesday, hope to see y'all. Bye-bye.